Hey everyone, I'm Anne. Welcome to the Let's Get Naked podcast, where we dive deep into vulnerability. In this space, we'll explore what triggers us, uncover the patterns holding us back, and discover how to take charge of our own growth. If you're ready to dig in, be vulnerable, and face the tough stuff, then buckle up. It's time to get naked. So today is going to be a little bit of a different format. I have a process in the mornings that I record the podcast where that's when I put together my opening rant. And this morning, it wasn't coming to me. And my guest today aligns very beautifully with stuff that's happening in my life. And I didn't think there was an opening rant that was going to even be able to set the stage. So I decided instead to do two little stories that I wanted to share before I introduce my guest. Here are the two stories. So for those of you that don't know, I recently released a book called The Life Hack Playbook. And that book is a culmination of my journey over the last 9 years since getting sober and all of the personal improvement that I've done throughout that process. It has been the most vulnerable thing that I've ever done because, doing the podcast is one thing. I'm sharing my story, which is, vulnerable. But when you share your ideas and what happens inside of your brain, that is as vulnerable as I can even imagine. I received a text from my mom this morning in regards to a chapter that she had read, and it made my day. I have a part in the book that talks about kind of separating your brain or your mind from who you really are, because I think a lot of people get confused and think that their mind is who they are, and it's actually not. It's just a tool. And so if it's not working for you, it's just a tool that's gone rogue. And so in the book, I have a funny way to kind of externalize that shitty mind that talks to you and tells you you're not good enough or whatever the bad parts of that are. And in the book, you'll see an image of who my best friend and I have named her, and my best friend found the image of what fits perfectly for what we call Darla. My mom's text this morning said, I named my Darla today. Her name is Brenda the bitch. And I just thought, right on. Like, that is just absolutely perfect. So I wanted to share that with you guys. The other thing that I wanted to share is hustling this book for me has been a really fun process. And this past week, I find myself sitting in Old Town Scottsdale at an appointment that I go to every week. And I was early for the appointment, and so I was sitting there kind of in my own process for different things. I was listening to the finalized version of the Audible of the book because we're going to get that posted out there. And these three ladies that were about my age were laughing and giggling and walking by in front of me. And the big guy nudges me and he says, you should go give those ladies a copy of your book, because I have a box of books in the back of my car. And I didn't want to. And so I literally, in my head, I'm like, I don't want to. And I sat there for a second, and he said, you should go give these ladies a copy of your book. And I'm like, son of a bitch, because they're walking, they're halfway down the street. And so I'm trying to shut the car off and get to the back, because if I don't listen to the big guy, it will nudge me later, and I will think about it, and I will think about it, and I will know that I have missed either a connection or something that maybe one of them needed or whatever that is. So here I am at the back of my car, trying to get the books out, trying to get, these little bookmarks in them. And by this point, these ladies are halfway down the block, and I'm like, I'm not running. I'm negotiating with the big guy in my head. I'm not running after these ladies, but I'm walking fast, and I'm like hoping for a red light. And I catch up to them, and I cannot even imagine what these poor women think of me, because here I am, out of breath, running up to them like, hey, I'm not selling anything. I just wanted to give you these books. The universe told me I needed to come give you these books because I don't know whether they believe in the big guy or if they would even understand what the hell I'm talking about. But anyways, I'm calling this the hustle of me just all of these different things that happen of me giving my book out and the big guy telling me. So I just thought everyone might get a chuckle of that. I told my best friend that. And she's like, I can totally picture you in Old Town Scottsdale hustling past these other ladies who think you're like, who the hell is this lunatic? Anyways, that's my story.
What a gift. That was a beautiful gift that you gave them.
It was. So it was just like, you know what? Wherever that connection is supposed to be, it's supposed to be.
They needed it. You don't even know how or why.
Exactly.
Somebody in there needed something you had to say.
Yeah. So it's just a fun way of human connection. And I listen to the big guy when he tells me, and sometimes I do make him ask me twice, but I'm never going to make him ask me 3 times. So I don't have an opening rant, but I do just want to introduce Darlene Greene. Darlene has agreed to come sit today and talk about some really fascinating topics that, for some reason, are very right in my wheelhouse right now for things that I'm going through. And so it's wild to me how these synchronicities line up. So Darlene, thank you for coming and spending time sharing what you know with our audience and everything that you're passionate about.
It's such an honor to be here with you, Anne. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So maybe you can just start a little bit with just not too deep, but just give an overview of like what we're going to talk about today so that I'll kind of share with you how mine ties in and how even just reading your bio was like ding, 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 ding all over the place.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about health, I think. And, I have struggled with health a lot in my life, 5 autoimmune disorders. And then I was a care provider to a husband with neurological decline. And in the process of all of that, as you know, Big Pharma offered nothing for really any of all of those things. And it has been a journey. I have tried, I think, almost every alternative approach. Yeah. I can actually talk to a lot of them, but there have been just the ability to tap into your own body's innate wisdom and elevate your own body's peptides, particularly master peptides that activate stem cells and really do amazing work for you, has become a passion project of mine, because it's allowed me to remove the focus from me, from maybe woe is me because my husband did pass away in March, to how can I help and who else can I help? And that ability to help other people has been sapped in my soul at a time when I needed it. And I love, love, love helping other people with their health now.
Yeah. It's wild to me because I was listening to a podcast episode, just freshening myself up on this before coming, and I can hear the passion in your voice. And I also am a very passionate person about the things that are important to me, and I love that so much. Like, I don't even care what it is that you're passionate about.
Right.
To me, it's like that when it drives you, when it's like it doesn't matter what the outcome is, you know that you're doing the thing that you're called to do. Yeah. There's something so powerful in that to me. And so I could listen to you talk about, ketchup popsicles or whatever the hell it is that you want to talk about, because you are so passionate about it. And then I find myself in this place where I'll give you a little bit of a history, and then maybe you can tell me how this ties in. So 15 years ago, my gastro doc told me that I have ulcerative colitis. And I told him, no, I don't. And I've been telling him, no, I don't, for the last 15 years. I, up until a couple of years ago, was on a couple of different prescriptions, one for this ulcerative colitis that I don't believe that I have. But even though he's showing me on test results, of course I do. But I'm telling him, no, I don't.
Right.
But I got to a point.
You're not owning the diagnosis.
I'm not receiving that. I'm just not. And I had gotten to a place a couple of years ago where my body just hurt all the time. And I'm not that old. I'm 48. At that point, I'm, 45, 46. So I just stopped taking all of the prescriptions because I put everything in an Excel spreadsheet and I was looking at what the side effects are. And it was like painful joints. 3 out of the 4 medicines that I was taking has that as a side effect. And I'm like, well, no wonder every time I get out of bed, I feel like I'm 90, all of these different things. Anyways, it just came down to where that was my decision. I'm not encouraging other people to do that. Please consult your doctor. But I'm just telling you my path of that's who I am. I am at this point now where I have things that are happening in my body that I don't want to go back to the doctors because I just don't have any confidence in them whatsoever.
I do get that.
And I've had some blood work done for some of the things that are happening and some of the symptoms that I'm having. And it's like, yes, I understand that I have issues with my blood work, and I've been doing research over the last couple of years about peptides and what that looks like and all of the things. Literally, I think I'm on day 10 right now of doing a peptide injectable that I had to get to the point of I'm tired of these symptoms happening and I'm not interested in consulting my doctor who's just going to Google things anyways. And so I have a whole relationship with my chat GPT and here's my symptoms and here's what I'm doing. And of course, she says, her name's Jane, by the way. She says, I don't give medical advice. I'm like, I don't need you to give medical advice. I just need information. Let me feel what's true inside of me and doing these peptides and really, this GHC, I can't even.
GHK-CU?
It's GHK-CU.
Is that the one you're doing?
That's one of the ones in the stack. I have a 4 stack.
Done.
I know. And I have some of that now where I'm like, I'm going to put some of that on my face. I'm going to try different things. So there's different stuff that literally has just now come to my awareness in the last couple of weeks. And then I'm reading your your questionnaire yesterday, and it's like GHK-CU. And my son, who's 18 and very much into health and very much into all the things, he's like, Mom, you got to get into this peptide thing, all of these things.
Yeah.
And now here you are sitting on my couch.
Isn't that amazing?
With the most amount of passion for these things, right?
Yes.
I've had stem cells in the last couple of years injected into, not stem cells, PRP stuff,
Okay.
injected into one of my hips where they're telling me, oh, it's all this terrible stuff. And then I find this doctor who's passionate about that and doing that, which is, again, like, I don't know if you'd call that alternative medicine, but it's not mainstream. She's
Right.
not trying to give me a prescription to hook me on big pharma for the rest of my life. And that has, done wonders for me. And so it's wild that we're sitting here having this conversation, because I am on the place where it's like the symptoms are such that it's all of these autoimmune things that are coming up. And I just don't subscribe to that. Not that I'm not saying it's not real, but just that I'm saying I'm not just going to go on a pill that's going to then make me have symptoms that could include anything between anal leakage and death.
Right.
And you never know what it is in between there.
Right.
And then also not fix it.
And it doesn't fix it.
Exactly. And so it's like
the biggest point is it doesn't fix
exactly. And so I don't want to treat the symptom. I want to treat the root. And if that means that I don't eat gluten anymore, if that means that it doesn't even matter what it means, I'm at the point where I'm sitting at my kitchen table every morning now injecting peptides into my stomach or into whatever, where I thought, God, is that weird to do that? And I started doing it. I'm like, not weird at all. I'm this invested in you feeling good at a root cause, because I can't just have my body be inflamed all of the time. I worked a stressful job for a lot of years. I run a different way. I run hot with just who I am. I'm always 100 miles an hour. And so obviously that just keeps me inflamed or whatever it is. So being here to talk about something that you're super passionate about, I want to just sit here with like a sponge and listen to everything that you say about what you've learned.
You're
and
already
how that,
so far ahead. Just understanding peptides alone is just huge.
Yeah.
Understanding the body's innate wisdom to heal itself through peptides is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And even knowing what GHK-CU is, because that was ahead of where I was. I had no understanding of what GHK-CU.
Well, I don't know that I understand it. I am injecting it into my body.
Let's talk a moment about GHK-CU peptide, because it is probably the most powerful peptide in your body. And a lot of people know a lot of other peptides, but they don't know this one very well.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at studies, it's been studied by Dr. Lauren Picard for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And this peptide has, in double-blind placebo-controlled studies, proven to activate your stem cells, your dormant stem cells. So maybe you don't know. When you were 30, half of your stem cells were dormant. At the age of 60, which is I'm 60, they were almost all dormant for me, anybody at age 60 and beyond, it gets worse dramatically. So they're in there, they're just not working for you. So GHK-CU activates those dormant stem cells, and it gets them to go back to work, and they multiply and they regenerate and they heal tissue. And then the other thing GHK-CU does is it resets genes to their younger, healthier state. Over 4,000 genes. And let me kind of explain that a moment, because there's an analogy that really helped me visualize this. I know you're a very visual person, so this is going to help. If we took a photograph and we did a copy of it, and then we did a copy of the copy and a copy of the copy, by the time you get 60 years in, that copy has degraded. The instructions have faded away off the edges. It is not a very clear set of instructions. And that's what's happening to our cells and our DNA. So when you reset those genes to their younger, healthier state, you're going back to that very first photograph. All the instructions are there. They know what to do, and they're clear. So that is amazing. And it's turning on the things that should be on. It's turning off the things that should be off. Epigenetics at play there. The other thing GHK-CU does is it's phenomenal for the brain. Removes inflammation, reduces hypercoherence, or the lack of communication between the left and right brain. It has neurotropic, powerful effects. It gets through the brain barrier, and it is helping blood flow. It is helping nerve regeneration. The other thing that GHK-CU does is amazing for cardiovascular system. In fact, can reset your cardiovascular system. The more GHK-CU, the earlier, younger your cardiovascular system. So it's helping increase the integrity of your blood vessel walls. It's actually reducing the things that cause heart attacks and increasing the things that prevent heart attacks. The other thing GHK-CU does, it's often found in cancer clinics because it is resetting the programmed cell death of cancer cells. Amazing, right? In fact, of those 4,000 genes that are reset, I think 84 are anti-cancer. So it's turning on your anti-cancer cells. And basically, if you think of cancer, we all have cancer cells in us. And it's a matter of, is our immune system able to sort of to let the ones to kill them and have them go away. This is a deformed cell. This is a bad cell. It should be thrown in the trash. But sometimes our immune system isn't strong enough to do that. So one of the things I love is that GHK-CU will actually stop that runaway train and take care of those bad cells. Phenomenal for lungs, phenomenal for tissue, healing of tissue, actually even the skin, hair growth, just so many good things. Sleep, energy, lots. And I will share with you that most people only know about injecting GHK-CU. There's a book that's all about GHK-CU, actually, by Dr. Harmon, and reverse aging through copper peptide. And it talks about 3 ways to getting in GHK-CU. 1 is through injection. 2 is through creams. I think you were talking about that a little bit. And the 3rd is actually through light therapy, an actual light therapy patch. And I have actually heard a doctor say that, who does injections, that 4 injections in a day did not equate to what this light therapy patch does in 1 day.
I'm so excited to hear you say that.
Patch.
I'm so excited to hear you say that because I don't mind injecting myself, but also tell me.
And this is the neat thing about light therapy. The difference is you're injecting GHK-CU into your system. So how much does your system absorb? How does it get in to where it needs to go?
Sure.
The light therapy approach is your body increasing its production of GHK-CU.
Right, rather than injecting and then
Right.
having.
It's not going to be too much. It's not going to be too little. It's going to just bump it up, and it's going to be just right. Homeostasis.
So I'm assuming this is something that you do. How long is it? Because you don't look 60, by the way. For anyone who's listening, please go to the YouTube and look. Darlene's beautiful. You don't look 60 at all. I thought we were the same age.
Thank you. Well, I gotta test this just in the last few months. I'm biologically 40.
Yes, Queen. Yes.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
Right?
Slay
so
on that.
I love that. And I really love that. If you knew my health history, you would celebrate that in a whole new way with me, because I have had a health journey and it has not been an easy one. So to know my organs and my internal health is that great.
Yes.
Makes me so happy. And it is not a product of just doing light therapy or, I want to point out that I think nutrition matters. Getting toxins out matter. It's sort of like our cellular disease is a product of, do we have I don't know. Are you familiar with germ terrain,
No.
germ theory and terrain theory?
No, please explain.
Let's take a quick moment because, you and I are total alignment on this big pharma situation. And if you go back, germ theory, if you think of a fish in a fishbowl, here's a visual for you, and the fish is sick. And so what our current Western medicine population does, and because this is who ruled the day, Pasteur, let's do antibiotics. Let's shoot this fish with antibiotics. And by the way, you're talking to someone who 1 year had 14 antibiotics. Talk about blowing up and destroying your microbiome. This was before I understood what a microbiome was. This was long before I even understood how bad Western medicine could be for your autoimmune. So so boom, into the fish goes the antibiotics, and hopefully, well, here's something else I've learned about antibiotics, actually, and I'll have to use my hands on this. Antibiotics do not get rid of the infection. They actually encapsulate it like a little tumor. They encapsulate it into a little cyst that protects the body from that infection. But over time, when the body is ready to start that healing process, the tumor starts to open up, the cyst opens up, and guess what? Your infection opens up and begins to get released through the body again. And people think, oh, I'm having chronic new infections. No, it's the same infection. It's just that antibiotic didn't get rid of it. It just, encapsulated it. So there are ways, natural ways, that can be used, including something as simple as grapefruit seed oil extract and colloidal silver that people are scared of. But there are ways that you can take care of infection that are more natural, that actually get rid of the infection. So back to the story about germ theory and terrain theory. So you've got most of the world believing that we need to inject this fish with antibiotics. Béchamp argued, no, what you need to do is clean the fishbowl. The problem is not the fish. The problem is that this fishbowl, the terrain, is toxic. Let's get the toxins out, get the nutrients in, and the fish will recover.
Yeah.
So I am a strong believer in terrain theory, and I believe that our bodies are facing toxins, not just toxins from the external world, the air, the water, the food that we're eating, but also just we generate in our own oxidative stressful worlds, right? We're generating fire as well. And we need to be able to dump those toxins. So getting those toxins out and getting the right nutrients in. And it's very hard to get the right nutrients in a society that's so pleasure oriented.
Yes.
Right? Eating healthy goes against the grain. I mean, you can hardly do it in an airport or in most places, right? It's just really very challenging. So that terrain theory has shaped a lot of my world, getting good water, getting good nutrition, getting exercise, getting vitamin D, making sure. So when I say that this light therapy has been life-changing for me, I can't even begin to describe how life-changing. But I will tell you, I was doing all of those things before.
Yeah.
I was, and even with my husband's journey, we tried hyperbaric chamber, ozone. We pulled blood out. We spun it with ozone. We put it back in. We had our home ozone therapy machine where we put it in our ears and we put it a lot of places. There are lots of ways of doing ozone, and we won't even get into.
We'll let your imagination run into that.
And we did that every day for a year. Like
Sure.
we did hydrogen water. We did. I can't even begin to describe brain tap, meditation, all the things. Followed Dr. Bredeson's protocol, which was the only thing I knew that actually was reversing this. Nothing made a difference. Nothing until this light therapy technology.
How long ago was this that you found this?
It will be 3 years in March.
Okay.
So, and I've been a very consistent utilizer. It's very easy, right? It's as simple as putting a little patch on your body, right? And let me just tell you how it works. It's so magical, really, so creative and inventive. In fact, this and another product that we have that's a powder that actually feeds nutrition, including sea buckthorn fruit extract, which actually is very good for stem cells, but also L-citrulline and taurine and vitamin C and fiber and electrolytes, magnesium, lots of wonderful things. Actually, I was taking like 9 of the 11 things that are in this mineral supplement. These two combined to win the Stem Cell Technology of the Year award for 2025. So this is really a big deal. It's actually utilized by our Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr. So, Philadelphia Eagles, Tom Brady, Olympians, lots of people, but not many people know about it. So what is neat is there's the patch that activates and elevates this copper peptide. It's patented, proven, and it takes time. Right? Regenerative science doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen exclusive of all of these other things.
Sure.
You have to drink water. You need to make sure if you don't have any copper in your body, guess what? You're not going to make copper peptide.
Right.
So it is a cocktail of goodness that I love and over time, what I've been able to witness, in not just myself, but hundreds and hundreds of people that I have helped, is that things go away. My sister had chronic microscopic colitis 3 weeks into wearing 2 different kinds of patches, one that elevates the copper peptide and another that is an anti-inflammatory patch. Those two combined, and in 3 weeks, now this was something she had had for 6 years.
Yeah.
So she'd gone out of country. Actually, I'd gone out of country. My husband, we've gone out of country for stem cells. It's not just like PRP, but actual umbilical, mesenchymal stem cells. I went 4 times. We went 4 times with my husband and I. And she had gone at least once, and no improvement on any of our friends. Now, maybe that was because we were so inflamed. Inflammation actually eats up stem cells. So it could have been that it just didn't have a fighting chance.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But it was a very expensive test. But what I have seen is over time, and in her case, in this 6 years of microscopic colitis was, she was symptom free in 3 weeks. So really, and other things, plantar fasciitis, and just tons of pain relieving things. But it takes time for the cells to regenerate and to become their best, optimize. I have to be really careful in the language that I use. I'm not allowed to make any medical claims. I'm not even really supposed to say, you had this and you took this, and then after that you don't have this anymore. But I'm gonna skirt the edge a little bit here today, because I just think it's impossible to share the story without understanding the power of the impacts. And again, I'll just couch it in a collective impact of lots of things that were being done. Pulse electromagnetic frequency, that's something that Tony Robbins does every day. We tried that. That's a $15,000 machine,
right?
And no improvement. We have microcurrent. I do magnetic therapy, pulse magnetic therapy, silver magnetic therapy. I mean, a lot of things, but nothing that I have ever tried in my life has had this kind of impact.
I'm so excited about trying it, because it's wild. The society that we live in is very much so, let's just treat the symptoms instead of figuring out the root cause. And at my house, we're just the opposite. We're very into, and I wouldn't say we're like health nuts to the point where we don't have ice cream, or we don't, have some of the things that are really enjoyable in this life. But we understand that what you put in to your body is what you're going to get out of it, and we're full of a society that is a quick fix. Go to McDonald's, get a pill, get a, whatever that is. You really have to understand that your body and your health are the most important things that you have. I look at all of these people that are older, and we watch as the conveyor belt goes in life, and no one takes care of themselves, no one's active, no one's all of the things. And then you see these people that are 60, 70, 80 years old, and they're having to have other people take care of them. We've seen the pattern, you guys. We've watched it happen to our parents and our grandparents and our whatever. Let's wake up and do something about it. Also, I want to feel amazing.
Right. It's quality of life.
It is. It is a quality of life thing. So
Absolutely.
it's like, if you're not putting like you said, the water and the sleep and all of the good things in, what you're getting out is junk. And people don't realize, they think that their unwinding is like, doom scrolling on Instagram without the kids in the same room. It's like, God, take care of yourselves. Like, you could feel like $1 million right now if you didn't have all of this junk that everyone makes out as normal, right? Our society makes out as normal, and then just go ahead and go get a pill that's going to numb your emotions, because that's what all of them do. It numbs you to the point where you're a zombie, and not fix whatever the root problem is. And so to me, I'm all about the root in everything that we're doing, whether it's your body or your mental or your emotional, whatever. Like, let's get down to the root and fix that, so that we don't have to just keep numbing and putting Band-Aids on top of stuff.
That's right. I love that. I love that wisdom, because I think there are so many and too many people who want that quick fix. And regenerative healing is not something that happens overnight. Right. In fact, one of the things that I ask people to do is, at least give me a month for every decade you are old.
Yeah.
And really what I'd like is 6 to 9 months. But it's not expensive. I mean, unlike the stem cells and the things that we've done, really affordable at $99 for a 1 month supply wholesale, right? Really very affordable, particularly when you consider what you're getting back and the elevation. I mean, I don't know what you're paying for peptides, but peptides are expensive.
It's,
right? I mean,
exactly.
a lot more than that.
Yeah.
So to have your body doing that. And there are one of the things that I love is there's one that elevates epithalamium. And epithalamium is your organ peptide. So what we see is improvement in your organs, from adrenal glands and thyroid to liver and kidney. And guess what else? Skin. Because skin is your largest organ and the most visible. And so I was the person that went everywhere with the huge tub of very thick Cetaphil everywhere I went, because I constantly needed layering. I was dry skin like a lizard. And it wasn't just living in Arizona. I've lived all over.
Sure.
But I never, I've been to dermatologists. They tried all sorts of things. Nothing really ever worked. And somewhere in the 3-month mark, I was like, oh my goodness, like my elbows were the first thing I noticed. They weren't dry and crackly. They were as soft as a baby's butt. And I was like, whoa, and I noticed it in my face. I had people notice it in my face. And so the ability to see results is wonderful. But what I'm also, we talked about the improvement of my organs. Guess why? I think it's because I've elevated that epithelium peptide, which is also, by the way, improving your front lobe.
Yeah.
That's a fabulous one for the brain, has very powerful effects. Another patch elevates carnosine, which carnosine is kind of this amazing neurological peptide. We call it sort of the first aid approach because it's good for bumps and lumps and bruises and things of that nature. And there are multiple ways of getting carnosine in, but not that are very effective. There's one that I am newly utilizing that is different even than the patch, actually, that is combined with magnesium through a gel that is getting into the body, used by hockey players and Olympians and elite athletes for a lot of years, but also offering substantial pain relief because it can get that carnosine at hundreds of percent greater performance into the body. And so people that are dealing with pain we're not just putting a Band-Aid on it.
Right.
We're getting in what can actually resolve that issue through carnosine, which is this phenomenal neuropeptide.
Here's the deal. Your life isn't going to magically fix itself. Nobody's coming to save you. But you can learn how to save yourself. That's what this book is. It's a no BS guide to stop outsourcing your happiness, stop making excuses, and start living with purpose. If you're tired of waiting for someday, consider this your wake-up call. Someday is today. Get your copy of the Life Hack Playbook on Amazon or on the podcast website, letsgetnakedpodcast.com. It's exciting to me because, being at a place for me specifically where I'm taking control of my body and not acting like a child anymore, which I think a lot of us do. It's like, I don't want to do that. Well, grow up.
I want to eat Captain Crunch every day.
Well, it's funny that
We
you say
all
that.
do.
We do. It's like I would love to have sweet tarts and cereal and get to do that every day. But also I realize that what I put in is what I'm going to get out. And being at this place in my life of I am not going to co-sign on this diagnosis from this doctor. And I'm at this place now where, a couple months ago got to the point where I'm breaking out in hives. And then it got to where it was happening on my face. And I'm like, all right, I'm listening.
Yes.
All right, I'm listening.
Yes.
Because it's like you have this bucket and you have all of these toxins and these other things that come in from either your food or your environment or whatever it is. And then it starts spilling out in ways that are not desirable. And it has been spilling out for me for a long time, but now you hit me in the moneymaker and I'm like, all right, damn it. I'm listening, so that's why I'm
and
like,
I think most people don't actually pay attention until their bucket starts to overflow.
Yes.
Like, we all have a toxic bucket and it's filling up, right? Gluten, sugar, whatever, all of the alcohol, all of these things are very, very toxic. And at the end, you reach a point and all of a sudden you add stress or these other things and it's just all of a sudden too much.
Yeah.
And I want to speak on stress for a second because part of my story and history is not having understood early on how impactful chronic daily stress is. If I were to go back now in time, I believe strongly that those 5 autoimmune disorders that I also refuse to have a diagnosis. I mean, I don't own them. They don't own me. I truly believe that they just don't know what's going on at a cellular level.
Agreed.
And so they take these symptoms, they put a label on it and they call it for insurance purposes only, this is what you've got.
Yes.
Okay. And doctors are like, there's no cure for this. Oh, except, here I am.
Right.
And actually there obviously is, and you really didn't know. But when I look back at the cause of that, I had married a narcissist, right? The weekend I graduated from college. That was a physically and emotionally abusive marriage that I got out of, worried that I would get out of that with my life, but I did. Then did a similar, totally different kind of narcissist, but did it again. Like, I actually Googled, what are the statistics and how many narcissists
Why
are
do
there?
I have to do this?
How did I do that twice? And what is wrong with me? I picked that way. But so I was very, very sure that my picker was completely broken and I was never going to date again. But when you look back, I had a doctor one time when I was telling him like what was going on. He said, well, of course you have chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. You've been married to a narcissist. And it was the first time someone said to me, like these are connected. And he said, read this book by Dr. Candace Pert called The Molecules of Emotion. And I'm thinking, well, that sounds very sciencey. And it's a doctor in a hospital telling me to do this. So I was like, okay. So I read that book, and it was pivotal at that time. I think at that time I was grinding through. I was just going to figure it out. I was in this, and I had kids, and maybe, surely I can figure this out. There are women crossing mountains in Afghanistan with their children. Like, surely you can deal with a relationship that's problematic and difficult. And I read that book, and I said, no, actually, it will kill me. This will kill me from the inside out. And then my daughters will be left with nobody that can help them navigate this world. So it changed, and all of a sudden self-care and taking, care of me in a way that actually scheduling self-care, prioritizing sleep and self-care, all of the things I needed to do for me became not just like what I thought before was a fluffy luxury, but an essential part of putting my health first, and even modeling to my daughters that that's important and okay.
That's so huge that you say that, and I want to circle on that really quickly. The discipline part of that, and understanding that, like, taking care of you. People, I think, a lot of times when they look at that, think that that's a punishment, right? That you get the fun taken away because you don't get to eat all the things and you're not taking care of yourself. But when you prioritize that self-care and really taking care of yourself and your health and your body, you are modeling to your daughters. I talk to people all the time, and they say, I would do anything for my kids. I don't want to pass down the same things. But it's like, then model that behavior of you taking care of yourself, because it's not a punishment. It's a gift to be able to take care of yourself in that way and teach your children. Because if you look at how your parents raised you, which, for most of us, if anyone in close proximity age-wise, they didn't have gyms. They didn't know wellness. I grew up on a farm in South Dakota. They didn't, it was just like they didn't understand what the hell they're putting in their body. We know these things now, right? I don't want to model for my kids cereal for dinner every night or sweet tarts, right? Even though that's maybe what I want.
Right.
I want to model to them that I'm worth taking care of for myself. And even though that feels super selfish to me, that was something that I had to switch, in the last couple of years. It feels super selfish to take care of myself first. And then you realize if you don't put your mask on first, you're no good to anybody else.
That's right.
So get curious. Put your mask on first.
That's right.
Don't be just eating chicken nuggets off of your kids' plate and saying, I don't have time.
That's right.
If you don't prioritize it, you're not prioritizing them. And so see it in that way, instead of you're not important enough. Are your kids important enough? Are the people that are at your table of life that you're the one that's setting the example for them?
Right.
Are they important enough?
Right.
If you can't be important enough at the beginning, do it for them instead, even though it seems like it's super selfish to take care of yourself first.
Yeah. I don't think most people understand, when you look at the visits to urgent care and hospitals, more than 75 to 90% of those are actually related to stress. 75 to 90% are related to stress. And when you look at who has autoimmune disorders, 80% of that's women.
100%.
Why?
Yeah.
Because guess what? We're taking care of you and you and you and you. And we don't necessarily do a really good job of managing our own stress and taking care of us as a priority.
Yeah.
So I really had to learn that the hard way. I think these things almost took me to my knees first, which often happens, right?
Yes.
Frequently we actually seek out all of these alternative therapies as a result of our own journey. But boy, what a difference it makes when you do, and when you learn meditation. I mean, I now really prioritize sleep.
Yes.
Meditation, walking, getting some sunshine. I mean, just some exercise. Good water. We have a company that is so extraordinary. I drink a water every day that is not only hydrogen water and structured water, but light infused with 6 different light waves. And it has in 7 different studies, 100% of people have shown improvement in a whole host of areas. Because when you look at our bodies, our communication flows through water. It's through water, from cell to cell to cell to cell. And so getting in really good water, getting in really good nutrients. I try hard not to do sugar. I have a sweet tooth. I think I'm an addict. I really do. But I am now, and initially I had to draw a really hard line, because I was just it was just everything I thought about all day long was sugar, probably similar to alcohol. It was just that overpowering. It was like, when am I getting my next fix, and what is it going to look like?
Yeah.
And it took a hard line and a lot of time. And then I'm like, okay, all right, I'm not craving it all the time. And so that served me well. But now I can dip in, dip out. I can, if lava cake is at the table, I can just dive into the middle gooey part for a couple of bites and be good.
Yeah.
Not necessarily scouring the entire thing down. So I'm in a different place now, but yeah, it is a discipline to value yourself enough. And really, I just don't know that people understand the impact of nutrition on us, how I really believe almost all disease, almost all of the issues are too many toxins in the body and not enough nutrition in the body.
Yeah.
You got to get the toxins out, you got to keep the nutrition in, and you got to move your body so that your body knows we're alive.
Right.
Because every day you don't move, your body's going, oh, we're dying.
Well, and it's wild to me to look at just across the board at adults who it feels like we got to a certain level, I'll say middle school for the example of emotions, but also like nutrition and taking care of your body. We got to a certain part, and then no one's advanced education-wise just in themselves, not like what's out there available in the world, just like what you're doing to yourself.
What's available in the world is actually wrong, like the pyramid and what's touted by government is just scary.
Right, it totally is. So it's like we've gotten to that place and we stop, and then we're just doing this hamster wheel shitty day where we're eating junk food, a lot of alcohol, a lot of sugar, going to to the doctors and letting big pharma be the ones. And we're in this really disgusting cycle when it's like our bodies are amazing. They are amazing. And so it's like if you can figure out whatever your recipe looks like to plug in and start getting curious and get curious about what it is that you're putting in your body and how you're feeling and like all of these different things. Your body's amazing, but we're running old software. Like this is how I like it. Again, I'm a very visual person, but I'm running like a Windows 95 on my phone. How good is that going to work?
Right.
If you're not, we have all of this knowledge and these things that will help in understanding like the stress component of it, right?
Yeah.
When I had my construction business, I literally had diarrhea for like 15 years.
Oh, gosh.
You know how terrible that is?
Yeah,
and
that's a
it's
problem.
like,
That's
it
a
is.
signal.
And it's like, that's when all of this shit started where it's like, oh, you have ulcerative colitis, you have all of this,
Yeah.
Maybe get some of that stress out of your life. Our bodies are not meant to
They're
run
not.
that way. But
They're
when you
not.
say women are, we are. Women are the ones that are carrying the cognitive load. Women wear for some stupid fucked up reason like a badge of honor, right? That like, oh, we can handle it, we're fine, we're gonna hold it together. It's not fine, ladies, it's not fine. We're not meant to fucking run at the pace that we're running. Figure out how to put yourself first, because it's the difference between giving out of resentment and giving out of abundance. I in a couple years ago I had this this switch where I really realized I need to put myself first. And as a mom, I think that was the hardest thing to do, to say, I need you guys to wait while I get me right first. But doing that, even though it was very counterintuitive to me, has been such a game changer, because I don't give out of resentment. I don't give out of obligation. I give out of abundance, because I take care of myself first, and I'm in alignment. And then it doesn't feel like, when you're talking about that grind, it doesn't feel like that grind
Instead,
anymore.
it can feel like a joy. If you can get to that place. I will share a very, very personal story. I spent 4 years as a care provider to my husband, who, death by 1,000 cuts, died a little every day. Although I will say that the light therapy was huge in regaining his personality, his funny, flirty personality back, and other improvements. Ultimately didn't save him, but boy, do I cherish what I did have. And now I'm dealing with an 84-year-old mom, 89-year-old dad, and they need help. They need care. And, in my head, my programming or the world's programming would say, well, a good daughter, you're now living alone. You should go move in with her and them and take care of them. They need help making sure they get their morning supplements and meds and protein shake, or eat like basic food and basics, right? And I had this conversation with my mom this week, because my dad has on many occasions now forgotten medicine that he needs. If he doesn't, he has aortic aneurysms. They could just explode, right? So we have to keep his blood pressure down. And he's just forgotten. And my mom can't remember. And I said, I feel like I should, and I'd like to be the daughter that could, but I have to tell you, I can't.
Yeah.
I just can't. I can't be this person for you. I'm going to help you find the person that can come in, even if it's an hour a day, and they're going to check, and they're going to make sure, and they make sure you have a food plan. And I, in the interim, I pop over a lot. My sister does as well. But it was a decision that I made to prioritize me over them,
Yeah.
which feels very selfish and yucky. And I, when I explained it, I cried and I said, I wish I could be this person, Mom. And she said, Darlene, I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to make those kinds of sacrifices. And I said, okay, then you're going to need, because they have fought against having anybody come in for so long.
Right.
And we have finally convinced them that, in spite of your best efforts and thinking that you got this, you don't got this.
Right. Yeah. I can feel the emotion when you're telling me that. And inside of me, as you're telling me that story, I'm screaming, please tell me that she didn't say yes. Because I come from I come from the same place where it's like, I look at my kids now, and this has been something that's been really heavy on my heart as far as, as people get older, and that we don't allow our elderly and our sick to die with dignity. And not that I'm suggesting that we do anything, but like we get to this place where then the kids who are at whatever age you are, right? You're 60 and now you're supposed to be the one that goes in, or feel guilty that you're not the one that goes
decades
in. Exactly. And then that robs your life.
It does.
And so to me, I agree with you. I would never be able to be that person for my parents, and
God bless those who are.
Oh my God!
I'm not saying that.
No, for sure.
But if you haven't been a care provider, you really don't have any idea how all-consuming it can be.
Yeah.
And I've done this. Like I did this, and it cost me a lot. It cost my health. Like I had to work really hard at recovering my own health as a result of, after my husband's death, I shook for 2 solid months, shook violently, and I think that there's, my adrenals were shot. Like there were things in spite of walking and meditating and doing all the things, there's still a toll that it takes when you lose your best friend and the love of your life. And so it was really, it was, maybe it's a little bit of divine intervention in the timing that you could look at it 2 ways. One is like this really, I have told my mom and dad, you guys need to hold it together because I can only handle 1 death in a year. Like I really, and I feel like we've almost lost my dad a couple times this year. Mm-hmm. So I'm like all over them. And in some cases, this is really, really unfortunate timing. And in other cases, it is like, well, you're really good at this now. Yeah. My sister's constantly amazed at how patient I am with their memory deficiencies, and I'm like, oh, I'm a trained expert on that.
Right,
like,
you didn't have a choice.
I understand. They wouldn't ask the question again if they actually knew they'd asked it 2 minutes ago. Right. They wouldn't. They don't know that they just asked it. They have no awareness. So I just answer it like it's just a brand new first question, and that can get hard. But I'm now very good at it, and all of the things that I am doing help me come to the table to be with them in a much more I became a much better care provider as a result of light therapy. Mm-hmm. Night and day. Well, it lifted. I was clinically depressed.
Yeah. Well, how could you not be?
How could you not be?
How could you not be?
I have all the good reasons.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that when your spirits, and I didn't expect that. I hoped for reduction of pain. I had a broken foot and sprained ankle because guess what else stress does is it causes accidents. Mm-hmm. We are 80% more likely to have a very significant accident when we're under significant stress. And so I missed the last 3 steps of our staircase.
Yikes.
Fell hard on the hot tile, broke my foot, sprained my ankle, and now I'm in a place where my husband couldn't even get me a glass of water. And I am trying to navigate in pain, and some of my coping mechanisms disappeared. My pickleball, my social outings, a lot of the things that were really kind of helping me hold it together just disappeared. And so I was at a new low. And I think I had been 5 months after that injury and just in so much pain and just so tired of it and so down. And the ability to get out of pain immediately, the ability to have more energy and get better sleep and in literally weeks have my spirits lifted and feel light and be able to live in a place of gratitude for the blessings that we have, because there's a lot of different ways of looking at death.
100%.
And there was a moment in time early, I would say a couple years in, where I remember turning to my sister and saying, I don't know how people survive this. Like, I think I'm going to just break. And another time saying, if I knew this was how it was going to end, I don't even know if I'd begin our 20-year lovely, beautiful, amazing, literally best marriage of anyone I ever know.
Yeah.
But that's how painful it was. And then now I'm through that, and I would do it all over again.
Yeah.
But it was that hard. And so I think it's important that we do honor our own, I now know what that looks like, and God bless all the care providers. But I know I will set some boundaries to taking care of my parents in a way that, I'll be there. I take them to their medical appointments. I'm doing a lot, but I'm not going to do everything.
Well, and I think that segues really nicely into something that we should talk about for our listeners. There are a lot of people in this generation that where we're kind of in this sandwich generation where we're kind of taking care of our kids, regardless of whether they're young or in their 20s or still needing active care, right? Kids are being raised at different rates now than when we were younger, right? So they still need a lot of help. And then we also have our parents who also need a lot of help.
And are getting sicker younger.
And are getting sicker younger, right? Because we didn't take care of ourselves and like all of these different things. We didn't used to have this life expectancy the way that it is now. I wouldn't want my children to sacrifice their lives to be able to do that, to take care of me. But individually, people need to understand and really put themselves first and say, I can't do that. Do what you can for certain, but know that it doesn't all like fall on your shoulders. I have a lot of different people in my life now where, I have a friend whose mom is taking care of her mom. And you look at that and it's like, it's literally robbing her of her life, trying to keep this other person alive. And it's like, I would be mortified if I was expecting my children at any age to then sacrifice those years to take care of me. That just rips my heart out that we're even in a position to have to do that. And I realize there's all of the things that go into that, not having, not having the money to be able to help have somebody else come in or whatever that looks like. But
that's a very, I was actually thinking about that today. I was thinking about how blessed I am that I have the money for alternative healthcare, because I don't, when you go all the way back to 1996, when I was first diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, and my doctor said, we really have no idea what to do with that. Go see a Chinese medicine doctor. I was like, oh, step outside of this world that we know. That was the very beginning of my eyes, and shedding some light and learning different things about, like, I thought I was eating really healthy. And this doctor was like, no, I want you to split your plate. I want half of it to be dark green leafy vegetables. I want fish here, and I want some complex vegetable there. And I'm like, so that's dinner. But no, morning, noon, night. I go, you want me to eat fish and spinach for breakfast? He said, yes. But guess what? I got well. And he also did tinctures to help me get detox and other things. But the point I was making is these alternate therapies don't come out of insurance. Why, I don't know, but they don't, right? Because Big Pharma owns the world and owns insurance companies. But the ability to pay for good nutrition, organic food where you can, or go see somebody who does a real thyroid panel. Like, I didn't have my thyroid treated properly for a decade. I felt sluggish and tired, and the doctors would say, nope, you're right in range. And I would be like, but I feel like crap. And finally, an alternative integrative health professional said, well, no, you're not okay. They didn't measure this because they don't do that test. And in fact, you're not converting. So you actually need a little bit of this to now we actually, one of the things I've been able to do over time is get off of all of that prescription medicines. And I actually have half of my thyroid missing. So that's pretty extraordinary to be able to reach a state where I don't need any thyroid prescription medicine at all anymore. And we've got my hormones balanced and all of those things.
Yeah. Well, and it just takes, having somebody that's interested enough with that isn't trying to just check the boxes. We talk about the big pharma, and it's like, okay, they have their hands tied. My husband had something that
they really do.
They do. It's not like they don't care.
They will lose their license.
It's absolutely
their
true.
Livelihood.
It's absolutely true. And I don't think a lot of people realize how savage that whole situation is.
Yes.
My husband has had some symptoms that he's been dealing with for a lot of years. And he's saying, this is what I think it is, doc. And he's doing a lot of his research. And she says, that's great, but I can't do anything about that because I have requirements based on insurance stuff and based on whatever. She wants to be able to help, but all she can do is help treat symptoms. And I think our system is broken.
It is.
Everyone should understand that. Our system is completely broken, whether it's the actual health insurance or whether it's the doctors and their hands being tied. Why in the world we would let the insurance companies be the ones that are making the decisions based on what we can and can't do feels outrageous to me.
It does.
But no one knows any better.
They don't.
And so it's like we're just putting this junk in our bodies, which is complete garbage. We're not doing the things that are important for us to be, get outside, get some sunshine on your face, put the damn phone down. Whatever any of that stuff is, you will feel like $1 million if you make a couple of different tweaks that are taking care of yourself, not selfish.
Yeah.
Taking care of yourself. People don't realize how good they can even feel, right? With how much they don't. And I think if you
with good sleep, good energy,
if you
good
have
water.
one day where you got to do full energy, full whatever, and then you went back to your other day, I guarantee you would do anything to get back to that full energy day, because I know what that feels like on both sides.
And what are you leaving off the table? Like, one of the things I found in the first week of using this light therapy technology was I was cooking a lot. Like, I was in the kitchen, like, cooking up a storm, and I'm like, wow, I don't know why I hated cooking so much. This isn't so bad. Yeah. But it was like, I never had the energy at the end of the day to cook. And I think I cooked more in a week than I had in a year. And it was, I feel like if we don't invest in our health, we will end up having to pay for our illness.
Yeah.
And here's something that I don't know at least I didn't know this until not that long ago. Your cells can be 70% sick and dysfunctional before you notice. Ugh. It's when they hit 80%, that's when all of a sudden you go, ooh, I don't feel so good.
That's 80%. Scary to think about that. 80%. That's really scary.
So we do, we if we wait until we are now not feeling good, we've actually waited too long. In fact, with my husband's neurological decline, that started 20 years beforehand. He lost his sense of smell 20 years, which is an early warning indicator. And I didn't know that. None of us knew that. By the way, he actually got back his sense of smell 5 months into this light therapy, which was good neurological stuff going on when that's happening.
Wild?
Yeah, but they're usually those big, bad, ugly diseases that you lose your loved one before you lose your loved one. Those start 20 years in advance, and who would have known it? But when you look back at things I've learned, okay, he didn't get good sleep.
Right.
He didn't have good nutrition, in spite of, he was constantly trying to lose weight, but not necessarily in the healthiest way. He had mold toxicity. I had mold toxicity. Do you know that mold toxicity can look exactly like Alzheimer's or dementia? And yet nobody tests for it, because you're not going to get that from your normal Western medicine doctor. They're going to look and go, they're going to see dementia. I actually challenged our Western medicine neurological doctor and said, well, how do you know it's not just mold? And he just looked at me. And I said, how do you know? You can't really, So we went through the mold protocol. In fact, actually, I think I heard a statistic, 50 to 70% of people who do end up getting diagnosed with Alzheimer's have mold and insulin resistance. So those two things, and he had that, right? So when you actually go back and you learn some of the things sleep apnea. People with sleep apnea are 70 to 75%, something very high, more likely to get diagnosed with Alzheimer's. You can go down the list. It's check. Oh, APOE4/4. He had the gene type from both parents. Like, worst case scenario. Like, there was just so many things we were up against when you look back on it.
It's wild to me, because it's like people just ignore this whole component. Put this first. Get curious about this, because you look at that at the other age. People look and say, I don't want to be that way. Yeah. Well, you have to do something about it. You can't just wish that that's going to happen with no action.
That's right.
It's like, I hope I'm not like that too. And here are the things that I do to make certain that I'm wiping my own ass at 70.
That's right. And some of that's muscle strength, actually. The decline, the sarcopenia is a real big, bad thing. If you want to be able to hold your grandchild when you are 80, guess what? You better start working on it at 50, because you cannot, and you can build muscle. You can keep building muscle. In fact, one of the things that a couple of the different things that I'm using are doing is increasing muscle strength, muscle mass.
I'm so excited.
I love that. From the carnosine to the GHK-CU, there's actually a daughter peptide called AHK-CU. You might not have heard of AHK-CU. It is only found in the brain and in the heart and in the muscles. And when we elevate AHK-CU, we can actually improve not only muscle strength, but also bone density. So we have a lot of reversal of things that are not good when you're losing your bone density.
I love it. Darlene, we're running out of time, but will you please tell people, the listeners, how to find you or how to get more information or like give them some resources real quick?
So I am, probably the best way is my website, which is iamreverseaging.com, and that's IAMREVERSEAGING.com. I'm also on Facebook, Darlene Bennett Greene. I'm in LinkedIn, and I do offer complimentary, to your listeners, a complimentary consultation to just help out and listen to what are you experiencing. I think health is a very personal journey, and so we want to. I mean, not everybody's as transparent as you and I are, right? Not everybody wants to tell the whole world all the things that are going on with us, but we are. But so we do a private consultation. We talk about what can benefit individuals, and I do have that plethora of knowledge of all of these different things and approaches, whether that's nutrition or really these light modalities that are so extraordinary and affordable, and they just no prescription required, right?
Yeah.
Just get shipped to your door. 82 countries,
right?
Really not even limited.
Right, which is excellent because then you're not held hostage by, a doctor or insurance companies or whatever.
Right.
So,
no.
Okay, and we'll also put your contact information on our website, so everybody, you can check the website for Darlene. Thank you so much for coming and spending time chatting
and
today.
Such a delight to be with you. Thank you for your podcast. Thank you for your book. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for being vulnerable and transparent and helping the world be more like that too.
Thank you. My goal is to make it the norm, not the exception.
Amen.
So that's our time for today. If you have questions, suggestions, or think you have a story to add and want to be on the podcast, send us an email. Our email address is ladies@letsgetnakedpodcast.com, and then do all the things to support the pod. Follow, share, rate, and review. We will catch you next time. That's a wrap.